In Penance, a police detective casually summons a wealthy CEO repeatedly to the station or barges into his office whenever he likes. No pushbacks, no "I'll call my lawyer for you," no threats to report him to the DPO or commissioner. Because if you're that big a deal like the blogs care to post about your legal troubles, you should have one or two contacts in high places to exploit in times like this. But none of that happens here. It's just vibes from this guy we're supposed to believe is rich and powerful. On another end, two lawyers sit in the living room casually discussing a high-profile rape case few feet from where their client is seated. Except instead of a gripping legal exchange, we get a barrage of legal jargons that sound like they crammed the Wikipedia page 5 minutes before the camera started rolling.
Ridiculousness. But babes, two first-hand witnesses giving the same account about the same guy and the same place. Babes, it means we have enough evidence to pursue.
Well, on the surface, yeah, but arguably, I don't think the Rebecca's case was an outright rape. As far as I'm concerned, they had an affair and then it turned sour.
This is Penance, a film that attempts to tackle weighty social issues but struggles to make us take anything seriously. Let's talk about it. Penance is a Nigerian legal drama, if you can call it that follows the case of Mr. Majek, a high-ranking businessman accused of raping a 23-year-old corps member attached to his firm for service. As the movie unfolds, secrets emerge and the lines between justice and personal vendettas blur. The film has a solid premise. Stories about power, justice, and the manipulation of truth are always relevant. It's the kind of setup that should get audiences talking. But Penance doesn't live up to its own potential, not in the slightest. The good. To be fair, Penance does have one or two little things going for it. The film sets up an air of mystery from the start with its dark cinematography and ominous score in early scenes. There's a clear attempt to give the movie a moody investigative tone, but that doesn't last at all, sadly. Also, the themes at play, sexual assault, false accusations, and the legal system's shortcomings are important. If done right, Penance had the chance to have sparked deeper conversations across social media and in person, but it doesn't. The bad. Where do we start from? Let's see. First, the characters. There are a lot of characters here at play. There's the victim, Alice, played by Uzoamaka Onuoha. There's her sister, Lawyer, played by Rachel M.M. Isaac. There is the accused, Mr. Majek, played by Wale Ojo. There is Mr. Majek's lawyer, played by Nonso Basi. There's the detective, always chewing apples, played by Gregory Ojefua, and many more. One thing all these characters have in common is that they all feel flat and lifeless. Even seasoned actors like Wale Ojo seem disengaged, as if they are there to just fulfill a contract rather than embody their roles, and perhaps behind the scenes have fun while doing that. Some of these characters are more annoying than others, like Nonso Basi's lawyer, who lacks any real presence. He delivers his lines like someone just happy to be in the room rather than a lawyer defending a high-profile client. He exudes no authority, no conviction, and he's one of many who experience this recurring issue. These are characters who should be commanding attention, but instead, they fade into the background effortlessly. The issue appears compounded by a director's vision that doesn't seem grounded in the ambitious story he hopes to tell, and a writing quality that feels amateurish. The dialogue for the most part feels unnatural, with exposition-heavy scenes that dump information instead of revealing it organically. A great example is the two-woman prosecution team discussing the client's case in the most unprofessional way possible, openly slandering their client who is seated within earshot. Up until that moment, we the viewers thought they were completely on our side. But suddenly we are hit with a clunky information dump that reframes the entire case and the entire movie in the most jarring way possible. We suddenly go from one scene where these lawyers believe Alice is innocent 100% to one where they are telling us about how she and the accused were dating, and because her alibi doesn't check out, they think she's up to no good with the accusations she's laid against the man. It is important to note that their doubt expressed here goes next to nowhere in the story. It disappears in the same way as it is introduced into the narrative, in a flash. Again, the problem with Penance isn't with the story it is telling, but in the way it goes about telling it. Then there's Detective Festus Obasa, played by Gregory Ojefua. He starts out as a misogynistic, insensitive police officer, one all too common in reality, before morphing into judge and jury as he finds the accused guilty himself and takes up a personal vendetta to lock him up. His motivations are muddled, and like a lot of other elements in this story, we see traces of what it is that might be propelling him, but then it vanishes almost as quickly as it is introduced. Instead of exploring what could have been a compelling backstory that fuels the surprise motivation, Penance reduces him to the class clown, constantly noisily eating apples, making snarky remarks, and strutting around with an air of superiority. He's supposed to be the lead detective on a major case, yet the film treats him more like comic relief than this serious investigator, to no effect. It is boring and made the film even more excruciating to sit through. And then there's the London subplot. The movie introduces a subplot set in the UK that feels completely unnecessary. It adds nothing to the story, drags the pacing down, and could have been cut entirely without affecting what it is that we got. If that wasn't bad enough, the scene is also marred by poor sound quality, very noticeable, and acting so stiff that it makes the already dull dialogues even hard to sit through. More often than not, Nigerian films have a habit of casting foreigners who can't act, and Penance is no exception. Yes, it is just one foreigner in the scene, but her Nigerian counterpart is just as bad as she is. The performances make the weakest local actors in this film seem Oscar-worthy. Penance has a lot of things going wrong for it. Its pacing also is one of those things. For a movie dealing with such high-stakes subject matter, it is painfully slow and uninteresting. The tension never quite builds up, and when the big twist is finally revealed, it lands with more of a sigh than a gasp. Speaking of the twist, the ending of Penance is perhaps its biggest letdown. It reveals that the alleged victim, Alice, was never actually raped. She orchestrated the entire accusation as revenge for something Mr. Majek did to her friend 2 years prior. At a time when false accusations are a growing concern with little to no consequences in real life, Penance adds insult to injury. Instead of handling its subject matter with nuance, the film exploits it for shock value, trivializing the pain of real victims of sexual assault. The twist doesn't provoke thought, it merely reinforces harmful narratives, like the idea that a woman's claim should always be met with doubt. Then there's the case of Mr. Majek. His fate suggests that vigilante justice is a fair counter to injustice, but fighting one wrong with another is never the right message to pass. Ultimately, Penance is yet another film that fumbles an important conversation. It had the opportunity to be meaningful, to add its voice to the fight against sexual assault, but instead, it squanders that goodwill with a poorly handled resolution. Not only is it forgettable, but it leaves a bitter taste behind. Should you watch it? If you're curious, sure, but if you're looking for a gripping legal drama with depth and emotional weight, you might want to look elsewhere. What do you think? Did Penance work for you, or did it leave you as frustrated as it left me? Let's talk in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more reviews and conversation around Nollywood and film generally. I'll see you in the next video.